Sharon had 2 daughters, a granddaughter, and a life that, while imperfect, was still filled with love and possibility. Deep down, she knew that sacrificing any of them in a futile attempt to save Cassie was wrong. Yet Cameron's influence on her was profound. His words echo in her mind, convincing her that reuniting with Cassie and even Nick is within reach. The question is, how far is Sharon willing to go to achieve it? As Sharon struggles with this internal conflict, the past continues to haunt her. The life she imagined with Nick, had Cassie lived, seems like a paradise lost. Cassie's death ripped a hole in her heart that has never fully healed, and she can't shake the feeling that if Cassie had survived, things would have been different. She and Nick could still be together. Their family could still be intact. There would be no need to seek comfort in other relationships, no need to deal with the pain and loss that followed. A dream that Cameron is using to manipulate Sharon. He distorts her pain, convincing her that the only way to heal is through violence. Cameron suggests that Sharon's path to peace, to a reunion with her family, lies in taking Daniel's life. Sharon is torn between the woman she once was and the broken person she has become under Cameron's influence. In the dark corners of Sharon Rosales' shattered mind, a storm is brewing. The once strong, determined woman is on the brink of a dangerous decision, her sense of reality slipping away under the manipulations of Cameron Kirsten. Sharon has lost control of her emotions, her sanity, and perhaps her life. Cameron, an expert at manipulating emotions, has penetrated Sharon's psyche at her weakest moment. He exploits her pain, her yearning for a past that can never be, convincing her that the key to her happiness lies in something dark, something unimaginable: murder. He whispers to her that killing Daniel Romalotti will set her free, that it will reunite her with the girl she lost, Cassie Newman. Cameron painted this picture so clearly and precisely that, in her unstable state, Sharon began to believe it. The idea seemed absurd to anyone with a clear mind. How could taking Daniel's life bring Cassie back? But for Sharon, it was about more than reliving the past. It was about rewriting her life story, about undoing the greatest tragedy she had ever faced. Losing Cassie was a shock from which she had never fully recovered, and Cameron knew this. He exploited Sharon's love for her dead daughter, turning it into something dangerous, something destructive. Sharon's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, swirling around the image of Cassie, her smile, her laugh, the way she lit up the world around her. In her grief, Sharon believed that if she did what Cameron suggested, she could somehow make things right again. Cassie could come back, and Sharon could finally heal her broken family. But how could this impossible reunion happen? Sharon, caught between her love for her surviving children and her longing for the one she lost, began to dream of a world where Cassie and Nick were with her. A world where they could once again be a family, united and whole. It was a fantasy, but it consumed her, pushing her to the brink of madness. Deep down, Sharon knew the truth. Cassie was gone, and no amount of violence or bloodshed could change that. But the thought that she might be reunited with her daughter in the afterlife began to consume her. Sharon began to believe that if she ended Daniel's life, she could set in motion a chain of events that would lead her to Cassie. And if she couldn't bring Cassie back to the afterlife, perhaps she could join her in the afterlife. The rational part of Sharon's mind, though increasingly dim, still flickered. She loved her other children, Faith and Mariah, with all her heart. Sharon knew that Faith, born after Cassie's tragic death, was a blessing. Cassie had even predicted Faith's birth in a vision, a bittersweet reminder that life would go on after she died. Sharon also had Mariah, Cassie's twin sister, who had come into her life under difficult circumstances, but had become a source of great love and strength.
Yonder Tuesday, September 24th reveals in the darkened room of a rundown motel, Sharon finds herself drifting into a restless sleep. Her mind, restless and tormented, conjures up a terrifying vision, one that foretells the fate of Daniel Romalotti. In her strange dream, Daniel's fate takes a horrific turn, with bloodshed and possibly even death lurking. The imagery in the dream is so vivid that when Sharon wakes up, drenched in sweat, her heart pounding in her chest, she is paralyzed with fear. As Sharon struggles to escape the nightmare, the presence of Cameron looms over her. This sinister figure is a ghost from Sharon's troubled past, a remnant of her deepest fears, who now seems intent on manipulating her fragile mental state. Cameron, ever the master manipulator, dismisses Sharon's terror with cool calm. He assures her that there is nothing to fear, at least not if they do what is coming. In Cameron's twisted view, Sharon's dream is more than a random vision, it is a prophecy, a path she must follow. He plants in her mind the idea that Daniel's death is not only inevitable but necessary for Sharon to achieve true closure for her daughter, Cassie. Cameron insists that this is the only way Sharon can finally find peace and ensure happiness for Cassie, allowing Nick Newman, Cassie's father, to move on as well. Sharon, despite Cameron's manipulations, feels a part of her resistance. Deep down, she knows this is wrong. But her weakened mental state and Cameron's relentless pressure blur the line between right and wrong, leaving her teetering on the brink of a dangerous decision. The idea that Cassie's memory could be honored through such a drastic and violent act preys on Sharon's vulnerability, making it increasingly difficult for her to see through Cameron's manipulations. Meanwhile, Nick Newman has become extremely concerned. He is aware that Sharon has lost touch with reality and can sense the danger around her. In Tuesday's episode of The Young and the Restless, Nick takes decisive action to regain control of the situation. He knows that Sharon's current mental state is fragile and the thought of her being alone is terrifying. With a history of mental health issues and recent erratic behavior, Nick is desperate to track her down before she does something irreversible. Nick begins by seeking help from Sharon's daughter, Mariah, who has also noticed her mother's increasing instability. Although Mariah is reluctant to interfere behind Sharon's back, Nick insists that it is necessary for her safety. Together, they try to piece together Sharon's recent actions, but there is still a crucial piece missing: her last conversation with Daniel. Nick, realizing that Daniel may hold important information about Sharon's sudden disappearance, turns his attention to him. As Nick prepares to confront Daniel, Daniel himself is facing a major turning point in his life. His already strained relationship with Heather Stevens is about to break down. Heather, feeling overwhelmed by the constant chaos in Genoa City, suggests that they pack up and leave town for good. She believes that starting over somewhere else could be the key to rebuilding their lives and escaping the chaos, especially the chaos surrounding Sharon. Heather is fed up with the drama. Genoa City, once her home, now feels like a place of endless conflict and unrest. Sharon's erratic behavior, coupled with uncertainty about their future, has pushed Heather to the brink. To her, the answer seems simple: leave it all behind. But convincing Daniel, and more importantly, their daughter, Lucy, that this is the right move won't be easy. For a brief moment, Daniel seems ready to give in to Heather's idea. The prospect of leaving town, away from Sharon's troubles and the continuing struggles he faces in his career, is appealing. It offers a fresh start, a chance to rebuild his relationship with Heather and start over with Lucy. Yet Daniel knows that such a decision will not be without consequences. As Daniel contemplates this life-changing decision, Sharon remains at the forefront of his thoughts. Their recent interactions have been complicated, to say the least. While Daniel tries to be supportive of Sharon, her downward spiral leaves him conflicted and unsure of how to help. He isn't blind to the danger she's in, and he knows that leaving her in this state is wrong on a fundamental level.